All right, guys, let's talk about drawdowns. And in particular, if you've been going through a drawdown with your trading recently, meaning that your account balance has been going down rather than going up, and you can feel that it's affecting you mentally, leading you to take different decisions in the markets, lose confidence in your ability to trade and so on, then this video is for you. And this isn't a planned lesson. This is like one of those casual chat type videos we used to do years ago and then we stopped. So maybe it'll be a bit rambly. If you're not wanting that, then switch off. Sometimes people complain I talk too much. I know I do. And if you're going through a drawdown, but it's not affecting you mentally and you're okay with it and you know you're going to get out of it, then this is not for you either. But for those of you that are experiencing that, the reason that I wanted to do this on a Friday, other than the fact I want to bring back these types of videos for our Fridays, the Friday casual chit chat, but on a Friday it's important because it's the end of the week. You've got 2 days now over the weekend, and what you choose to do over those 2 days and over the next couple of weeks could determine what direction your trading career goes in. Not just your next trade, but your entire trading career. And that might sound a bit extreme, but it's completely true. Because when you're in this situation where something's affecting you mentally in a negative way, and that's causing you to make decisions that are causing you to have worse performance, that's only going to make things worse in your mind, that's going to make your decisions worse and so on, and it becomes this negative spiral until, with trading, you either burn out your account, make so many losses and stuff that you lose passion for what you're doing and you give up, or you just lose so much self-confidence that there's no coming back from it, or it's going to take a lot more work. And so the reason this weekend's important is because the best way to stop a negative spiral like that is to cut it, to find an action that turns things around and stops that spiral happening, like something that's like a circuit breaker. And that's what I hope this is going to be for you. So drawdowns happen, they're inevitable. I still have drawdowns. Anyone that's consistently profitable will have drawdowns because you can't possibly get to a point where for the rest of your career, you're just going to have profitable trade after profitable trade after profitable trade. Anyone who's hanging on to their trades throughout losses and waiting for them to just become profitable and closing those is on a one-way road to burning out their account anyway. So it's a matter of time before they have the biggest drawdown of all. Anyone who's trading properly will have dips in their account balance at times. A P&L is not just a directly straight line throughout your entire career. It's more like higher highs, higher lows, like when you look at a trend in the markets. But the thing that separates the people who can succeed throughout their career in trading and the people who have this sort of flash in the pan success and then burn themselves out with it is how you can deal with those dips in your account balance. Do you look at them the same as you do when you're on a winning streak and still make the same decisions and still have the same confidence in yourself and stick to your system and take the right actions? Or do you let it wear you down and crumble and lose all confidence? If you're in this situation, then it's a sign that you need to do something to improve. These are obstacles. When we face these sort of negative moments, these are obstacles. And I always think there are 2 ways to overcome any obstacle, right? An obstacle is a sign that you need to grow to get past that. It's a sign you've hit the limit of what you're capable of doing right now. So therefore, if you want to get past that, you can use brute force and just work harder, put in more effort. That will often work because a lot of the time we're just not putting enough effort to get past that obstacle. But if it doesn't work and you just feel like you're banging your head against the wall, the second option is that you need to take a different approach, go from a different angle. That might mean that you need to learn something, or it might mean that you need to plan a different way of doing it. That you found, okay, this took me so far, now I need to do something different to get past this. Now, for a lot of you that are going through a drawdown, truth, okay, I'm just going to say it how it is, you probably just are not good enough at trading yet, and you need to go back to the drawing board and learn to trade, right? The drawdown is a sign that you're actually not ready to be trading yet. You need to learn more. But for a lot of you, like if you've actually sort of seen consistent performance over time on a demo account or whatever, and you know you've got it in you, then this is a sign that you need to figure out how you can deal with these sorts of situations. Now, when we talk about changing your approach, that can be a positive thing, or it can also be a negative thing. And what you're experiencing now, if you're making the wrong decisions, is a negative side of that. You're being too sensitive, you're changing things because you're losing confidence in yourself. You see, with our trading, especially if you're doing short-term trading, if you're doing longer-term trading, it's not so much. There are 2 aspects for our trading. There's the explicit part, which is like the rules, the system, the strategy you follow. Then there's the implicit part. This is the stuff that you're not even aware of a lot of the time that you're picking up in the markets that's making you think, oh, something doesn't seem right here, or oh, there's an opportunity there. Now, when you're in this drawdown and it's affecting your confidence, this implicit part's going into like overdrive. and you're suddenly seeing things and thinking, oh, I better get out of this trade, because you're so worried about taking more losses. But when you're worried about taking losses, you can't trade. Taking risks is an inevitable part of trading. If you're not willing to take any risks, you can't trade. Now, one of the benefits of working with lots of traders over the last few years to help them with their trading is that I've been able to experience lots of different things with them, both positive and negative. And even if you've experienced something with your own trading, like a problem or something, when you see it in someone else, you can look at it more objectively and come up with a solution, because it's easier to see in someone else than yourself. And so that's the case with drawdowns. So let me give you an example. Like recently, someone I've been working with their trading, I've been working with them for a while, and their trading's usually good analysis, good decision making. They've had some good successes, but recently they've gone into a drawdown, and it's been for a while actually. And it's affected their decision making to the point where when they open a trade, they know they need to let trades ride out and, trade structure or have a bigger move in the market. But instead, when it goes into a loss, they're cutting that loss immediately. Good. But when it goes into a profit, they're also cutting that profit immediately. So all that's happening is they're slowing down the pace of the drawdown, but not reversing it and improving it, because in the end, they're trading worse than before. They're not making the right decisions. It's just that the losses are small, the profits are small, so it kind of stagnates and fluctuates around. That's not progress, that's not overcoming it. And so when they take losses, they'd have a little pity party and moan about it. And I'd say to them, what are you doing about it? You can't just whinge, you can't have a downer about this. You have to take action, put things in perspective. What are you doing to take a different approach to fix this? And so I kind of think of it like in football, when you have a striker who's not scored for a while. And I'm going to give a lot of sports analogies. I always give sports analogies. And the reason is, it's a performance skill just like trading is. Like, you can't compare trading to being an accountant or a skill like that. It's a performance skill. And with sport, then it's very visual. It's easy to see the comparisons, and it helps to put points in perspective. Because if you break it down to sort of first principles, the same core components are needed to succeed in a sport as to succeed in trading. But when you have a striker who's not been scoring for a while, it's usually a confidence issue. And they don't have that cutting edge. They're not taking the same risks as before because they've lost confidence in their ability to finish, to actually score the goal. And it's the same with the trading. When you're cutting these trades quickly, it's because you have no confidence in your ability anymore. And so if you were a football player who needs to gain confidence, how are you going to gain that confidence? Either it's going to happen from having a few wins, scoring a goal, and then suddenly the goal drought's over, or it's going to happen on a training field. Same for trading. If you're either going to have some good trades, it's going to get you back on track, or if that's not happening, you need to go back to the training field. And let's go back to those 2 points that help you overcome an obstacle: putting in more effort or taking a different approach. So if you're realizing that when you're going through things in the market, you don't have that confidence anymore, are you putting enough effort outside of your trading to gain that confidence? So that's basically what I said to the person who's going through this as well. I said, you need to go away and you need to train. And you need to train in a particular way. So there's a couple of books by the coach of Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade, and a few other people. Quite a high profile coach. His name's Tim Grover. His books are okay, but he gives a lot of anecdotes about these guys. And he says, for example, with Michael Jordan, in training sessions, he'd go over the basics again and again and again and again and again. The absolute basics, not the showboating stuff, not the highlight reel dunks or anything like that, the basics. And like, for example, Kobe, after a match, even if they'd won, rather than joining the celebrations, they'd usually be in the car or the hotel room or whatever, already watching that match and figuring out where he did things wrong and what they could do to improve that. And it's this sort of thing, by doing this, that one, you start to fix your mistakes, and two, you go from something where when things are going wrong, you take impulsive actions that might be the wrong ones, you turn it around so that you, in a situation where things are difficult, do things that are instinctive instead. So you make things instinctive, not impulsive. Because when you're in a high pressure situation, then you're going to end up taking the actions that are automatized for you. And if you've made things instinctive, so you're not having to be impulsive, it's going to work out much better. Like, for example, in boxing, I always think of the clips of Floyd Mayweather in training doing the pad work. And it's like, this almost looks like a dance routine. And people say, like, what's the point of that? He's not even hitting them hard. But it's like this sort of making these certain movements instinctive, that if someone hits him here, he returns with this. If someone's hitting up here, he's going to go like this. It's instinctive, not impulsive then. So when he's in the heat of the moment, then rather than having to think what the best thing is to do, he just reacts. It's automatic, it's instinctive. So for him, what I said, go away, work on a simulator, and give yourself the exact same restrictions as you have right now. You see, what most people do is that everyone enjoys working on things they know they're already good at. They don't like working on their weaknesses. So if you say to someone, you need to spend this weekend working on your trading to improve, they'll go away and do all of the things that they enjoy doing. They might look over their profitable trades, see what they did there, do a bit of casual analysis in the markets and so on, and like feel like they're sharpening up their skills, but they're not. You've got to go through deliberate practice. And one form of deliberate practice is, drilling different skills and so on. Another is putting yourself in a difficult situation, more difficult than the situation you're in, and overcoming it. So again, if we go back to sports, sorry, I'm going to keep bringing up sports, but you may have seen like the videos of Steph Curry taking his shots in his practice, like his warm-up before a match, and he'll take them from like behind the backboards, like down the corridor and things like that, because that's more difficult than what he'll have to do in the actual, the game. I got told off for saying match the other day, so the game. And therefore, in the game, things are easier. If you put loads of restrictions, make things more difficult for yourself, when you remove those restrictions, things are easier. So I said to him, go and use a simulator and go and put yourself in the same situation you're in. So you're in a drawdown and you've got to work yourself back to back being in profit again. And until you do that, then you can't sort of continue trading on your live account. And don't just do it once, do it twice. And if you want to make it more difficult, make the restrictions even bigger. Increase the drawdown, reduce the amount that you're able to use to get out of it, and so on. And so he did it the first time. He's sort of cleared it, got back to being in break even, and now he's going through it again. And it's by doing this that a few things happen. You start to realize that you have what it takes to get out of this. If you think about a football match, right? If it's there's 5 minutes left in the match and the team is losing by quite a bit, you'll have two different approaches. Some teams, they'll hang their heads and they'll give up and they'll say, this is it, we've lost. That's just like damage limitation kind of thing. Then you'll have other teams who will push and push and push and not give up until the last moment to win that match. Right, I'm an Arsenal fan, so I hate to say it, but the other day, Tottenham were playing against Leicester. They were deep into injury time. They were 2-1 down, and they didn't just get an equaliser. They got 2 goals. I think it was like 95th and 97th minute in a 90-minute match. That's how much injury time there was. So, you can take that approach where you never give up. But the teams and the people who do that are the ones who have gone through it before, and they know that it's possible to get out of it. And so if you've gone through it on a simulator and you've proven to yourself, okay, I've done it this time, then you do it again. Yes, it doesn't have the same emotions as you'll have in the markets, but you suddenly have an experience to draw upon where you can say, I'd managed to do this before. Like, I know that I've got it in me. Now I just need to replicate what I've done. And if after one time you go back to the markets and you feel, okay, it's not quite right, I don't feel confident enough, do it again. Okay, I've come out of it twice on a simulator, go back to the market, it's still not confident enough. Do it again and again and again until you start to realize, okay, this is so doable, I just need to replicate this. And if you don't have a simulator or you want to know which one I recommend, there's a link in the description box, or if you click up here, you can watch the video where I explained all about it. So this is really the key point, because if you are in this drawdown, it's affecting you negatively, and you aren't someone that needs to go and learn more about trading, like you're not an absolute beginner, but you're someone who should be more experienced, then that's the key word, it's experience. The only difference between you and a consistently profitable trader who's able to ride these drawdowns and keep going is they've got experiences to draw upon where they've gone through it before, and you maybe don't yet. Now, rather than going through that in the live market where you might make things worse, then use the simulator to get out of it. Because the worst thing that can happen is you get to the point that some people get in where they don't care anymore and they start thinking losses are funny and they kind of take them for fun. And it's like a coping mechanism where it's like a loser mindset where they've gotten so far into losing all the time that it's like, oh, another loss. And then they're not taking the right decisions anyway because they don't feel that same sort of like skin in the game because they've accepted that they're going to be losing more and more. But when I said that this can become a negative spiral and it's important you take actions now and put in the work now to overcome that, then it's for good reason, because if it gets much worse, you can lead to yourself having long-lasting effects from this that become really difficult to overcome. And if you're in that situation, then there are ways to deal with it. But let me explain a little bit. So it's almost like some people lose so much money that they experience a trauma from it, and then they go through some form of like PTSD. And I always remember a couple of years ago, I think I've told you about this before, I don't know if this guy still watches this channel or not, a few years ago, this guy contacted me and he told me that he'd lost a huge amount of money. We're talking about £4 million, I think he'd lost. He was based in Dubai, so I had this Skype call with him and his camera comes on and there's dozens of screens around him. It was bizarre. And he explained the situation to me. And it was that he can prove through his statistics and what he's doing that he's got a profitable, consistent method and he was succeeding for years. But then one day something happened, like a flash crash or some mistake, and he wiped out the majority of his capital, some £4 million. His capital was below £1 million. I think it was like £500,000. I know some of you will be listening to that thinking, I wish I had that capital left. But when you've lost it from 4, it feels traumatic. And what was happening now is that the second he opened a trade, it was like he was experiencing something in his entire body. He was sweating, he was shaking, and he just had to close the trade to stop those sensations taking place. So it wasn't even like when it was going into a loss, he'd panic. Even just opening the trade, he just was immediately wanting to close it. And it was this sort of PTSD or something. So if you get into that situation, then it's a long-term process to sort of overcome that. You have to go through exposure therapy and things like that, graded exposure. So you don't want to get to that stage. The key thing for everyone, I think, is putting in the effort in the right way. Thinking of yourself the equivalent of like a football player or something like that. And what do they do when they lose a match? They're back to training, working on certain things. They don't just like take a free kick in the match. They'll go through the set pieces in training, try that free kick over and over again, drilling it, drilling it, drilling it. So if you want to have a certain reaction, a certain action, a certain decision that you make be instinctive in the heat of the moment in the markets, you have to drill it before, like go through it in training, go through it in a simulator. So as I said, a bit of an unstructured one. I think we're going to bring back these Friday casual talks. Sometimes it'll be a recap of my trading. Sometimes it'll be about a topic that I want to discuss with you. But that way I can give you my experiences as well. And if you want to watch them, then fantastic. Let me know in the comments and hit the like button. If you don't, you're welcome just to click off from at any time. I know that I can talk a lot about these topics. But anyway, I hope you have a fantastic weekend, or if you're not watching this on a Friday, if you're watching it during the week, then have a great week. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys.